developing a learning outcome based question paper, or developing a, we can say, good question paper. So good question paper should be based on the learning outcomes or course outcomes. So we say course outcomes when we are referring to the outcomes of a course. Course means subject. If we are referring to a particular part of the course, then we can say that outcomes of that part as the learning outcomes. So learning outcome is a general term which can be considered as course outcome or program outcome. Right? So this is the outline of this particular discussion. So I will be highlighting the need of written tests. Then I will highlight Bloom's taxonomy. I think you might have gone through Bloom's taxonomy earlier in this particular STC. So I will highlight how to keep in mind this Bloom's taxonomy while writing the questions. Then I will share some steps in question paper settings. And then finally, we can have some discussion related to these points. So, this is the most common tool which we use to assess the students, this written tests, right? So we use written tests for assessing the extent to which learning outcomes in a cognitive domain have been achieved by the learner, right? So we use these tests at various levels, like at class test or mid-semester test or end semester test. So these written tests are used at these different levels, right? So as we say that assessment drives learning, so design of question paper should be effective. It should go beyond mere test of memory recall, so that students are preparing, or students are having a chance to show their higher skills also. So that we should include the questions which are related to some higher order abilities and skills also. Although we'll see that we cannot test all kind of abilities or higher order abilities using the written test, but to some extent we can go towards the higher order levels in addition to this earlier memory recall type of questions. So learning outcomes, I think it's not required even because you have gone through the CO, PO, or how to frame CO, POs. So here when we are referring to the statements regarding what a learner is able to do at the end of a unit of instruction or at the end of a course. So those statements are basically outcomes with respect to that activity. So this is the general term. So this kind of learning outcomes we see in our basically a list of outcomes, right? So these here we can see that these learning outcomes are at different levels, like define reinforcement. So this is very simple kind of learning outcome. But if we compare this statement with the say last statement, design a staircase for 5-story residential building, that means there is a difference in difficulty. So what is this difference? Or this difference can be basically analyzed.
It's on a higher level for
Bloom's taxonomy. So to basically further basically analyze this, we can use the Bloom's taxonomy. That's at what level our learning outcome is there at the Bloom's taxonomy level. So accordingly, we can design the questions related to that particular level. So Bloom's taxonomy is required in assessment also, not only in the design of outcomes. Right? So effective approach is that we should use Bloom's taxonomy for assessment also. So when we are going for assessment using Bloom's taxonomy, we should be aware of what kind of action verbs or what kind of verbs we can use for writing the questions. Right. So quickly, I will show certain slides to recall the various levels of the Bloom's. So there are 6 levels of the revised Bloom's taxonomy. So we'll be referring to the only revised Bloom's taxonomy. So remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So these are one-line statements which are showing the meanings of these different levels. So remembering is a level where while during the assessment, so these statements are now written, this level, various Bloom's level descriptions are written with respect to the this assessment context, right? So when we are writing the questions related to the remembering level, so we should keep in mind that we want to write the questions or the statements where students are able to show memory of previously learned material by recalling facts or terms or basic concepts. Right. So these are some of the examples of the questions, like define force, state advantages or disadvantages of something, label the parts of lathe machine, two types of soil foundation. So all these things are just recalling the facts or recalling some answers from our memory. So we can have action verbs like choose, define, find, label, list, batch. So such kinds of verbs can be used. Right. Similarly, these are the action verbs for the second level, understanding level: classify, compare, contrast, explain, and examples. You can see explain the concept of software, differentiate between digital and analog communication, and other these examples. So here in the these examples, you will see that we are interested in the writing the statements in using which we want that students should demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing and comparing or translating, interpreting, stating main ideas related to the topic which we have selected for the question. Right. Then third level, excuse me, third level is applying level. So we have various action verbs like apply, build, choose, construct, develop, determine. Such kind of action verbs are there. Examples you can see: calculate transmission losses in a given locality, calculate the force the wall will exert on a hand when given the force exerted by a hand on the wall. So such kind of examples or the statements which are basically written to get the idea that whether the students are able to solve problems to new situations by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in a different way. So they should be able to solve the problems in a new situation. Like, for example, if we uh, have a statement in which just a student is required to write the formula and then the different parameters are given, then the student is required to just calculate the uh, output using the by inserting the values in a given formula, then that type of numerical or that type of problem will not be at the applying level. So it may be at the understanding level, because in applying level, so we want that there should be some part of the statement which is reflecting a new situation. Okay, then next we have the analyzing level. So first three levels are generally called lots, lower order thinking skills, and the upper three levels are called higher order thinking skills: analyzing, then evaluating, creating. So here you can see the examples: identify causes for failure of a given machine, locate a fault in the given circuit diagram. And if you refer to the action verbs, these verbs which are written, so you can see that there are different verbs, but some of the verbs may be listed previously also in the previous level. So it is not only the verb which is important. So how we are drafting the statement, so that gives us the meaning to the question, and that statement meaning is used to define the level. So if we are writing the statements where we want to test the students' ability to examine and break information into parts by identifying motives or causes, or students are able to make inferences, find evidence to support generalization, then it is at the analyzing level. Similarly, evaluating level is the second highest level. So here we expect that a student should be able to present and defend opinions by making judgments about information. They should be uh, uh, confident about the validity of ideas. They should be able to write these opinions which are based on certain set of criterias. Okay, so and here you can see the questions that they should be able to like evaluate the effectiveness of a communication system in a given organization. That then what parameters will be used to check the effectiveness, why those parameters are selected, and how those parameters are evaluated. So all these things will be part of evaluated. And you can see again action verbs of different examples of action verbs are these verbs are there. So again, these verbs are just indicative. So these are not the only verbs which can be used. So just these are indicative that we can use such kind of verbs. Then creating is the highest level, right? So here you can see the examples. that prepare a plan to convert a given city into a smart city or a given campus into a smart campus, right? Write a program in, say, a particular language, C++, as per the requirement of an institution. So when we are compiling information in a different way by combining elements such that a new pattern or new some solution is proposed, so then we say that it is this question is at the creating level. So verbs may be similar to the earlier verbs which we have seen, but it's not we only the verbs which will be defining the level of the Bloom's taxonomy level of a given statement. So by recalling these facts, now let's quickly move through the certain steps which are suggested in literature by various researchers that we should follow these steps to develop a good question paper. So first step is list the topics and learning outcomes. So here you can see if you are having background in digital electronics, then you can identify that these three topics are related to digital electronics, or even you can replace these names by topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. So basically, if we are designing end semester examination, that means whole syllabus is basically top part of the topics. So we'll have topics defined in the syllabus. If we are referring to a class test or a mid semester test, then full syllabus may not be part of the that test. So then we need to identify what topics are to be covered and in the test, and what are the corresponding learning outcomes. So that should also be kept in mind at the starting of the setting question paper, right? Then first thing is that we need to determine the weightages to be assigned to various topics. So in the syllabus, when we refer to the syllabus of a particular subject, so many times we see that instructional time is indicated, that this unit will have that so many hours, then second unit will have so many hours. So, and those instructional hours allotted to different units or different topics are not uniform. So depending upon the uh, importance of the that particular content or the depth to which we want to cover, so there will be different instructional hours allotted to different units. And accordingly, teacher spends different instructional hours in the class for different topics. So those instructional time which are allotted instructional time units should be basis for allotting the weightage. So for example, here you can see that this division is for a test for these three topics for a test of 30 marks. So we want to decide, so out of 30 marks, what will be weightage of first topic, what will be weightage of second and third. So we can write instructional time in one column. So 447 indicates the instructional time, right? So then we can use this formula, time divided by total instructional time into marks. So total instructional time, if we add 447, total instruction time will be 15. And so first unit is allotted, or 4 hours have been spent on the first unit. So 4 divided by 15 into maximum marks are 30. So 4 divided by 15 into 30 will give us 8. Right. Similarly, we will add 8, 8, 14. Right. So this is the first calculation. But based on actual coverage in the class, actual depth of coverage or importance of the topic, so teacher should be given flexibility to slightly change these calculations. So it is not that hardly we have to follow this division. So but we should be uh, uh, having the variation around this division. This should not be a very large deviation from this calculation. Right? So once we have that topic-wise distribution, then how those marks will be divided into various Bloom's taxonomy levels. So this table of specification should be designed. So based on the learning outcomes, based on the uh, depth of the coverage, based on the importance of that topic in the upcoming years. So we need to decide these weightages to various Bloom's taxonomy levels. So you can see here that R is stands for remembering, then understanding, A is applying, H is higher than applying. So we cannot really ask questions of higher order in the written examination. So we can have up to certain extent we can ask questions related to analyzing, but we cannot really ask questions related to evaluating or creating in limited hour examination, right? So here you can see that out of 30, 4 marks have been divided into remembering, then 8 marks are there for the understanding, 8 marks are there for the applying, then 10 marks are there for the higher than applying. So our question paper is basically divided into on different levels of blooms, right? And generally, this is the common observation that if we see question papers of various classes, so most of the questions are asked related to remembering or understanding. So present day trend is that most of the questions are asked related to remembering or understanding. So if we are having this table of specifications, then our questions will be distributed over different levels, right? So this should be prepared. So once we have this table of specification in place, then we need to write the questions, actual questions. Okay. So questions can be of selection type or supply type. So as I started with the previous PPT with these terms that selected selection type or supply type items. So in selection type items, we talk of say alternate response type items like yes, no, or we can have MCQ multiple choice type items or matching type items, assertion reasoning. So such kinds of questions come under the selection type. Supply type means like fill in the blanks, short answer or long answer questions. So these come under the supply type. So we should select the appropriate type which is suitable for the given level with respect to that topic which we for which we want to write the question. We should write the questions and items. Then we should discuss those questions with our say colleagues, or if there is any reviewing committee in our institution, we should submit our questions to the program that departmental review committee, and then as per suggestions we should edit again. We should review edit until we are satisfied that the statement is reflecting the same which I want to ask from the students. So this is a general guideline suggested by AI in the examination reforms policy published by AICT, that what kind of item is suitable at what level, right? So if we are interested in say evaluating the these higher levels, so then open book examination is one choice which we can have. But right now we are discussing the question paper setting for the limited hour examination, not for the open book examination. So in closed book examination, under supply type questions, you can see that extended essay type questions are suitable for the higher order kind of these uh, abilities, but we should be able to give the time, sufficient time. So if we are say asking extended essay type question, whether it is possible to write or attempt that question in limited time, or we may give this extended type of question in the assignment where the students are having sufficient time to attempt that question, right? Similarly, restricted essay type up to evaluating level, but short answer questions or fill in the blanks. So these are more suitable, or they are recommended for only lower levels, remembering and understanding. In selection type of items, true, false again for the remembering, understanding, matching type is are again for the lower levels. In MCQ or assertion reasoning, we can see that certain higher levels can be covered. MCQ, we can see that most of our competitive exams are MCQ level, but the difficulty of questions is can be very high. Right? So in MCQ, we have that flexibility. So this is a guideline which can be followed as reference. Okay, so once we have written the question, we thought that our task is over. So we have to write, we have to assemble our question paper by including different parts. So writing questions or items, you can see at third bullet point. So it is one part of selecting the, one part of setting the question paper. So we should include general information, we should include instructions, we should include mark distribution. So general information is maybe the code of the subject, name of the subject, semester, what will be the maximum marks, what will be the time allotted. So all those things should be included. So instructions should be very clear and concise, that what kind of uh, uh, answers or what kind of say attempt is required. Sometimes we want to give, say, options that those the instructions should be written. So if there are section-wise instructions, then those should be specified section-wise. Similarly, marks distribution should be given, so it will be very helpful for the evaluators when they are going to evaluate, as well as when the students are attempting the questions. So marks distribution will help the students in deciding on the answer or the length and quality of the answer. So this should be given. So I'm skipping some slides which are just giving the details of these various steps. Okay. So this is one template which I have adapted from AICT examination reforms policy. I have not indicated one last column here because in examination reforms policy they are talking of some performance indicators also. So that is another way of approaching the question paper setting. So you can refer to that. But it is suggested that while writing the questions, we can have these marks question, these section wise marks. We can write the COs to which that question is mapping. Even we can write the Bloom's taxonomy level also, which is basically uh, ex- uh, uh, related to that question. Okay. So in addition to this template, which is showing, it is just showing about the questions. So we should include the other things like instructions, general information, all those things, right? So it should be included. So with this, I conclude this session, second part of this session also. So on some guidelines on setting the question papers. So I'm open to queries or discussion related to these both topics, rubrics as well as question paper settings.